Hi, this is Calvi Rana from Logistics Insider, and with me is Mr. Luc Arnouts. He's the Vice President, International Relations and Networks, Port of Antwerp-Bruges, and we are here at Port of Antwerp-Bruges trade delegation to India. Welcome, Luc. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
So why don't we just start with the first question that I have for you. You know, with the rise of multi-sourcing strategies in response to global challenges, how has the Port of Antwerp-Bruges adapted its approach to support industries aiming to diversify and secure their supply chains?
Well, I think in general, the strong point, the trump card of the Port of Antwerp-Bruges is its diversified portfolio. And if there is one answer that we can give in these more difficult geopolitical times, is to create in your economic system diversity and less dependence on one or a few sources. So the strength of our port is that we encourage our companies to work on different trade lanes. And if you look at the portfolio of the Port of Antwerp-Bruges, it's very nicely spread all around the globe. So in case of disruptions, left or right, there is always other areas that can, to a certain extent, compensate that. Another way to tackle disruptions and uncertainty is also making sure that your role as port can be played in full. And one of the major roles of port is to be the transit point between the world and your hinterland, in our case, the European hinterland. And there we work on making enough choices available for supply chain managers to bring their goods to the European customers by using the different modes of transport. So it's by avoid to focus on only one, like road transport, but really diversify and work on your infrastructure to allow to use different modes of transport.
Yeah. That's put really nicely, multimodal and diversification, the way to go forward. So you spoke about diversification, and you know there has been a lot of buzz around India being the shifting focus towards India as an alternative to China. So my next question is going to be on that. As a domain expert, how do you see this happening, and what are some of the challenges that India faces in meeting this growing demand for diversified supply chains?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I think we all learned from COVID that we were depending too much on China, and I want to stress this, we have nothing against China. In that respect, that is one of our major trading partners. But we did encounter problems of being too much depending on that one single source. If you look around the world, there are not that many countries that have the capability of being also an alternative to or a source next to China. And that is obviously India. The whole challenge for India, in my opinion, is of course to see to what extent the industry can be export-oriented. You have such a huge domestic market that for many products, it might be easier to create your own market over here, where there are plenty of opportunities around the world in terms of export. It's going to be challenging to fulfill both needs or both opportunities, if I can call it like that. And if I can refer very practically to a new market that is developing, is the market of green molecules, green methanol, green ammonia, and so on. In Europe, we will need to import massively. We will produce locally, but we will need to import massively. India is working on a lot of projects to produce green ammonia, green methanol, green hydrogen. We, from a European part, we hope to see India develop as an exporting country. But obviously, we understand that there is huge need as well on the Indian continent itself. So the challenge will be to find a good balance to fulfill your market needs locally, domestic market, but also keep an eye on the world. But India has the potential, and we do see in our figures already a slight rise of the share from import from goods from this part of the world, that India is growing already a little bit.
As I was saying, you've put this so nicely. India can definitely be, the export hub, and we are aiming to be that, especially with Make in India initiative by the government. Now, I would want to come back to Port of Antwerp, and as you just said, that India prioritizes energy transition. How is Port of Antwerp-Bruges aligning its sustainability goal with India's, and what role does this collaboration play in advancing the green trade initiatives?
In our strategy as Port of Antwerp-Bruges, we define 3 pillars, and one of them is climate. Climate means that we will have to adapt to the goals set in the European Green Deal, climate neutrality by 2050. And we are convinced that as ports, we have to play a crucial role in this process of transition. This is something where we really need and can contribute. Let me explain. And I refer to the three aspects of the transition. First, there is the supply of the green molecules that we will need to decarbonize, on the one hand, our energy, but also our industry will need to be decarbonized. So we need to replace raw materials that are still, to a large extent, fossil fuels. We need to replace them by green molecules. The Port of Antwerp-Bruges hosts the largest chemical cluster in Europe. A lot of chemical products are still produced based on fossil fuels. Oil, gas, naphtha, so we have to replace that. So we need to have enough supply of these green molecules. So that's one thing we're working on. Very practically, we have collaboration now with Namibia and Oman in producing these molecules and helping to build the ports to bring it over. This is also one of the focus points we have towards India. So there we are seeing a lot of major companies investing in projects for green molecules. We are having contact with them to see are there opportunities for export to Europe using the Port of Antwerp-Bruges. So that's supply. The second aspect where ports play a role, and that will also have to happen in India, is the infrastructure. The molecules will arrive in our port and we'll have to export it from India. You will need adapted storage facilities for that. The energy density of these green molecules is much lower than the energy density of oil. So you will need larger storage capacity. So we're investing a lot in the Port of Antwerp-Bruges in import facilities for that. And the second thing will be the transport of these molecules to the final destination. For that, the real future is pipeline. So we are, as Port of Antwerp-Bruges, we own a company that operates about 1,000 kilometers of pipeline in Belgium. We'll need to extend that and adapt that also to transport ammonia, methanol, hydrogen. And I think the same thing will happen here. In India. So a lot of investment will still be required on both sides to build this infrastructure and to build this storage and transport infrastructure. And then the third aspect, supply infrastructure. Third thing is the offtake. We are in a difficult market situation that is a bit chicken and egg, catch-22. There is no supply, so the demand is not following. We will have to work on closing the gap of the higher price of the green molecules compared to the grey molecules in order to generate the offtake. What we are practically doing is working very closely together with the chemical sector in our port to help them to close this gap and to buy these green molecules. So as port, we really play a crucial role in this whole transition, both on the supply side in countries like India, but also on the receiving side in Europe.
Yeah. While answering this question, you very well touched upon the role that Port of Antwerp will have to play, in this expansion. But I would like you to focus more on what Port of Antwerp is going to need to position itself to meet the growing demand. That's my next question. The trade volumes with India have increased by over 11% in the past year. Which sectors do you think are showing the most promise? And how is the port positioned to meet this growing demand of industries like steel, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals?
You mentioned three important ones. When we look at the whole trade of steel, the Port of Antwerp-Bruges is the largest steel port in Europe, and India is our number 2 trading partner. So it's an important country in the trade of steel products. How are we investing in this? We continue investing in terminal capacity in the Port of Antwerp-Bruges. There are different operators that are specialized, and I'm also very happy that during this trade delegation we have several companies from the Antwerp-Bruges, private companies, that are operating terminals or are specialized as forwarder in steel business to really strengthen these relationships with the companies here in India. So steel definitely has a future. Of course, there is the regulation on the CBAM coming up, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, that might impact this trade. So we also need to follow that closely. Next to that, pharmaceuticals, you mentioned. India and Belgium are 2 of the major pharmaceutical countries in the world. And although the size is different, Belgium really plays a crucial role in the pharmaceutical industry in the world. We saw that also during the COVID period with the vaccines, very close trade between India and Belgium. So in pharmaceutical products, we see in the port different companies that specialize. And not only in storage, but also in handling pharmaceutical products. So really adding value by, for instance, blistering the individual pills into the packaging. So value-added logistics to really make it an attractive point for handling pharmaceutical products, and that's a trade we see grow with India. Foodstuff, cold chain. Port of Antwerp-Bruges is one of the major cold chain ports in Europe, and we do see also there a lot of opportunity for growth between India as a major producer of feedstock. And that's also where we see investments going on in the port to add capacity for cold and frozen storage. Automotive, to mention, I can continue because there is so many opportunities there, but automotive as well, they're China plus one. I think India can really, in the future, play a stronger role in exporting automotive and cars into Europe. So the platform Zeebrugge of the port of Antwerp-Bruges is the largest car port in the world, automotive port. We are handling 3.6 million cars on a yearly basis. And yeah, we hope to see more Indian cars coming through our platform of roll-on, roll-off.
Yeah, well, we hope to deliver that for sure. Lastly, if you can talk to me about the expectations that you have from today's trade delegation of India, and what do you hope to achieve?
We have been active in India since many years. We're having a local representative in India as port since 2006. 2006. So almost 20 years. We're having somebody here. We're coming here with trade delegations 2 times a year. And each time we feel that we need to be here to understand the market, to see how fast it evolves, also to see how the infrastructure is being developed and invested in. So each time I see that we can strengthen our relationships. Yesterday, I can't mention names here, but I was so happy to hear a company we have been talking with for a few times in the last year has now decided to reschedule all their trade via our port. So these personal contacts and explaining the trump cards of our port is something we will continue to do. So what do I expect? More friendship and more business.
Yeah, that's lovely. And it was great to speak with you, Luc. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.